Finally, I want to review, I'm going to review something that I read, and you may not have if you don't get the Post Gazette, by Jonathon Silver, who ran an article. A state law that regulates the collection and dissemination of sensitive law enforcement information was violated numerous times in Monroeville. An audit by the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office has revealed. It was an audit. In a letter dated Tuesday to the Monroeville solicitor and copied to officials, Executive Deputy Attorney General Lawrence M. Churba noted that his office could have sought court-imposed penalties for violations of the Criminal Histories Record Information Act. Mr. Churba said his office decided to handle the situation administratively. However, because the violations were first for Monroeville, municipal officials cooperated with the Attorney General's audit and corrective measures were taken. Quote, however, we must caution that should conduct of this sort recur, or should policies that led to these violations be reinstituted in the future, we will pursue the more stringent civil and criminal sanctions available, unquote, Mr. Churba wrote in the letter, which was obtained by the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. A meeting had been scheduled this last Thursday night between Monroeville officials, Mr. Churba and David Peffer, a special agent in charge of the Bureau of Special Investigations, but it was canceled earlier in the week. Following discussions with auditors, quote, everything has been handled, unquote, Joseph C. Peters, a spokesman for the Attorney General's office, said Thursday, quote, there's no need for the meeting, unquote. Said Mayor Gregory Arasinko. Gee, I think I cut it off here. I heard that. My opinion is that I'm glad that this was not made into a political nightmare. Monroeville remains under federal investigation. That is the HIPAA violations for allegations that it breached privacy law with unauthorized releases of information from ambulance calls. That investigation stemmed from a complaint filed by Police Chief Stephen Pasquarella in August of 2012 when he was Assistant Chief. The Attorney General's letter noted that there were 2 other investigations of improper accessing of protected records. Various individuals who were subsequently found to have improperly accessed such records were subject to discipline and were terminated from their public employment, the letter said. Municipal manager Lynette McKinney released the following statement in regard to the investigation. Over the last 10 months, myself, Chief Pasquarella, and 4 members of council have taken relentless public abuse and humiliation, threats, and questions related to our integrity. Because of the nature of the allegations, we were forced to sit quietly. I am pleased that the Attorney General's office recognizes the Monroeville Police Department under Chief Pasquarella and my leadership did what was necessary and correct. We cooperated with the investigation. We held those responsible accountable. And because of the professional manner that this was handled, the municipality of Monroeville will face no sanctions. Personally, quote, personally, this has been one of the most difficult times in my life. However, I'm proud that I and those who stood with me, Chief Pasquarella and the majority of council, did what was best and necessary to protect the privacy of our residents and our municipality, unquote. The latest situation involves the handling of data collected by Monroeville Police. The 33-year-old Criminal History Record Information Act sets forth procedures for reporting arrests, fingerprinting, dealing with expungements, and the handling of various information collected by law enforcement. The Attorney General's audit determined the records law was violated when unauthorized individuals, private citizens, and members of the Monroeville Volunteer Fire Department accessed 911 records during a 2.5-year period from August 2010 to February 2013. There was, we determined, unauthorized access to emergency medical services, paging, and to computer-aided dispatch records regarding police calls, Mr. Churba's letter said. Our investigation into this matter also found that in at least one specific incident-related instance, official Monroeville Police Department records were tampered with, altered, removed, or destroyed, although it did not establish the responsible individuals. The findings seem to mirror those of a private investigator, John J. Daly, hired by Monroeville. Mr. Daly blamed former Police Chief Doug Cole, who was fired. So I'm curious, now that I've read this article, as to why the mayor and some of the council here all accused Mr. Daly of being known by someone, as if it was something outside a due process. And if you still feel that way, then how do you explain the Attorney General saying the same and referring to the termination of the former police chief? And by the way, this matter, I agree, the HIPAA matter has not yet been addressed by the Office of Civil Rights, but this matter has. And that's the end of my report.